So we're going to look at drawing the house or a house in 2-point perspective. I've got a sheet of paper here, about 12 by 18, and I've got everything focused kind of here to the middle. So my vanishing points are actually off the screen here by just a little bit, probably not more than a couple inches off to the side, but this gives us a wider area to work with, so everything is not quite so extreme. So what I'm going to do is I am using a parallel bar here, and it's a small tabletop drafting setup, and I've got a triangle here, and I'm going to pick my spot and start with the corner of the house that I feel like would be closest to me. All right. So the area I feel closest to me is going to be on the left side, and I'm going to go ahead and make that line so that I can kind of start working with that. All right. So there's my first line here. And now what I'm going to do is connect that line, top and bottom, back to my vanishing points. We'll just move my bar up a little bit here. So these are pretty long runs, so I have a longer triangle to help do that. I'm just going to run these back off the paper a little bit, or at least off the screen rather. So kind of go up to each point. Right. So you can see I've kind of got this triangle wedge here. Now I need to do this side here. And this begins my 2-point perspective look. So there's that one, and now for the final one here. All right, this is giving me the rough shape of my house. I've got 2 wedges going off, and now I need to come back through and decide exactly how big is this house going to be. And so if I look on this side, this will be the easiest one. So what I'm going to do is decide where to cut this wedge at to make it the side. And so I'm just going to come back over here and make my point right here. All right, so over here on this side now, this is going to be the front, if you will. So this is going to be a longer run. And I need to kind of allow myself enough room because I'm going to have another part of the house that sticks out over here on this side. So I'm going to go ahead and say that that one is there. And so this is the full width of the front, and this is the width of the side. Now, there's a couple of things I need to look at here. Is I have to start thinking about my scale now. This is probably good for a 1-story area. So if I wanted to have 2 stories, I would want to have enough space to stack this on up. And that's not the case here right now. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and keep this at 1 story. And at least here in the States, this will be just a typical house setup with the main part of the house here. But then we have a garage that's going to kind of stick out the front over here on this side. And so what I need to do is start lining up where that garage is going to be. So on a typical starter home, we can say that the garage is going to take up at least a good portion of the side of the house. And I'm going to put it right there. All right, and so given the scale here, this will probably be like a 1-car garage. Now, any of my points coming out, again, they have to go back to the vanishing point. Now, what I'm going to run into here is that the triangle not quite long enough to make that run. So I have to pull out the longer ruler here. That is. All right, and so I'm going to extend this out for as far as I believe it will need to be. So I'm going to let it stop right in here. And then I'm going to bring this one out this way. All right. Now I'm going to line these up now with the vanishing point over here on this side. Now, you probably get some overruns when you do this, but that's just par for the course. These just become construction lines, and some of them will go away once we're done. All right, so this will be the shape of my garage. Now, again, I've got to tie everything back to vanishing points and kind of block this out. And the upper part of the garage is going to work the same way. All right. So what I'm going to do is come through here, and I have to extend this out roughly to where I think it will be. And then once I get that in there, I'll come through to the corner here and pull that up. All right. So there's that. Now I've got this corner down here. I know it's going to be there. So I kind of put that in there. And now I need to connect this area back to the vanishing point over here. I'm just going to let that one stop right there. All right, so here's the boxing for the garage section over here, but you can still see the majority of it. All right. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and kind of start thinking about the roof shapes, things like that. I guess it is mostly straight, yeah. So you can see here's all the boxing for everything. Now for roof lines, I'll go ahead and start with the main part over here. I kind of look at these two lines, and I kind of rough in where the midpoint will be. All right, and I'm going to estimate it to be about right here. And then I'm going to come straight up for the height of the roof. All right, so this is going to be a gable style roof. So I'm going to come up for point. Now these will be the only lines on here for this roof that will not attach back to these vanishing points. All right. And so I will go in and just connect here. And then the other one connected in. And now I will take this point and go all the way back to the vanishing point on the other side of the page. All right. So here's that. Let me drop that down. And then go ahead and put this line all the way through. All right, because that's going to get... All right. Now, go to this one. I'm going to set the midpoint here. All right. Now I know this is going to come back to this line here. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and pull this one up for where I feel like it's going to come in at. All right, and then we're going to tie these two roof lines together. So let me go ahead and put the gable in on this one. So there's that part, and now hopefully I can see enough of this without it going off too much. There's that part. All right, so yeah, you catch the edge of it here, and now this point here has to tie clear back in across the page to the opposite vanishing point. All right, and this is the gable on the roof portion. And I bring it all the way back. And then I have to decide, does it really tie in here, or do I go ahead and pull it up short? You know, I could have made it a little bit shorter and had it come in lower, but since this is here, then I will have this corner piece that comes up the front of the other roof, all right? And so you start seeing the shape and how everything ties in. Now again, if this were like a, you know, this could be like the garage section here. The biggest thing is that I'm seeing the faces facing this way, and I'm seeing the faces on this side. But on my 1-point perspective, we can see that they start scaling back in perspective as they get further away. All right, so now I've got my basic shapes. I can kind of decide what I'm going to do from here. So these are my proportions that I'm using, and now everything else is going to be, you know, window dressing. All right, so now if you're being very technical with this, you're going to go through with this and do all your windows and doors the same way. And so, first of all, I'm going to go ahead and address the roof. I know the roof is going to come out a bit further. Okay, so we're going to have an eave. All right. Now, that eave is going to also have to connect all the way down to the vanishing point. All right, but we're going to have this corner right here. And then I'm going to need to get the eave on this section worked out as well. So here's this based on what I have there. So there's the corner. And now I need to extend this one down. And then tie everything again back across to the opposite vanishing point. I'm going to start at the corner down here because I know where that's at. Right, there has to be no doubt where that one's going to come in at. And then there's the eave for the garage section. All right. Now, this is kind of important because your roof is not just one line. All right, your roof is going to be thicker section because you've got pieces of plywood and shingles and everything else up there. And so this is going to be like a box. All right, so I'm going to put this little corner in right here. And then, like everything else, back to the vanishing point. And that kind of just rinse and repeat that process all the way through the drawing. All right, so all I'm doing now is just putting the boxing on the eave where we've got the 2x4s and everything else in there that are holding the roof up. And we have to account for that thickness when we draw our buildings. Right. So this one, I'm going to go ahead and just kind of rough that in since I've kind of got the size, thickness that I need. And then now this one's going to come up here. Now, right now for this particular roof, I have it flat. Right? And I need to make a decision on if it's going to stay this way or if it needed to come out. And I'm just going to leave it like this for right now. Now going back over here to the other side, let's go ahead and get that worked out. So I'm just going to make sure these lines are pretty much parallel. And there's that one. And now this one's going to fall back in a way, kind of going through some other perspective a little bit. And so we're going to tie it in, then let it drift on down a little bit. I can see this through my shadow of my light here. All right. And so now I've got the eaves kind of worked into the house here. So it's actually starting to look like a little roof. And now everything else becomes details. All right, so if I have windows on this house, all right, most of your houses these days, your windows are getting, fairly lengthy. So I will come down. Let's come all the way over to the side here, and I will put in a line for the closest window. Again, just like I started with the corner here, the lines I put in now are going to serve for all the windows down this side. All right. Now, I'm not going to make this one giant window, but I'm using these lines I'm putting in now. These are kind of construction lines that let me build the rest of the drawing. Because you very much have to approach this like you're building your drawing. All right, so here's the first window. I'm going to go ahead and cut it off here. And then I'm going to go down here to the other window. And I'm going to cut it off about right there. So these two sections are my windows. And then everything else is just going to go away. Now, same thing happens down the side of the house. We'll come in and say there's a couple more windows on this end. I'll let them kind of match up with this one here. But then they have to go back to the vanishing point over here. So I'm just going to do that kind of lightly because I don't want to go all the way back right now. And then I'm going to say there are 2 windows on this side as well. All right, so I go ahead and put that line in, put this line in, and now I need to break them up. So maybe these windows aren't quite as wide as the ones there. And there's the 2 windows on that side. All right, and then everything about this, everything else about this becomes just kind of cosmetic and what we're doing. Now, I've not shown any doors or anything on this yet, so maybe I'll go ahead and kind of show that in here now. All right, so let's say I need a front door. All right, I've got the 2 windows here, and again, you know, if we're saying like a very small starter home, I can go ahead and wedge the door kind of right in the middle right here. And that door is going to take up most of this house. All right, because your doors over here typically about 7 feet high. So I'm just going to go ahead and kind of rough that in here. There's that one. And then let's go move over a little bit. Let's say there's that one. All right. And so this is going to be my door area. The door is probably going to be inset just a little bit. So I can come in and put that in here, just a little bit there. I will not see the one this side because it's facing away from me. And then I'm going to come on and bring this one up. All right, so I get this little bump out right here. And now I need to put in that part. All right, and so this is my sort of doorway indentation. And on all of this, I'm going to need to go back and put trim and stuff like that. So there it is. And then it would be the same thing if I had the garage door in here. So if this were like a very, very small single car garage. In fact, the way this is drawn, I'm not even real sure you could get more than a golf cart in here. But you would see it do very much the same thing. And then this would be like the garage door section here. And then I could show it with the garage doors and everything else. Now, if this is getting too complicated for you, you would need to go through and kind of start erasing out some of the construction lines and then, you know, putting your finishing touches and stuff on it here. So, let's see the garage door. You can kind of see that part there. And then we'll go ahead and at this point, I would go ahead and clean everything up and then start working in on my trim and windows and stuff like that. If this was a garage going in this way, all right, then this wall may be left blank, or you could put some decorative windows in it. That, you know, they may be functional into the garage. They may just be kind of false windows just to cover up a blank wall. Or you could leave the wall blank and then do some plantings and something out here. So this is a quick rundown of, again, a simple house, 2-point perspective. Obviously, if I wanted to make it 2-story, I would have to draw this a bit smaller so I could fit everything into the same area. One thing you have to worry about with that is you need to be using a technical pencil to get smaller so you don't get your lines too thick. And then just making sure you can see everything appropriately. But just remember that anything going this way has to tie into the right vanishing point. Anything going off to the left has to tie into the left vanishing point. And just make sure to be consistent with that. Otherwise, it's going to look like you've taken your house and kind of twisted it around. It's going to start doing things it shouldn't. So it's a basic layout for a 2-point perspective house, and anything beyond this would be just going back in and adding texture, details and things like that, putting some ground in here, and then going from there to kind of dress it up with ink and color. All right. Thank you for watching.